What if I told you that the single most powerful thing you could do for your brain, your hormones, your heart, and your lifespan requires no gym membership, no equipment, no subscription, and costs you absolutely nothing? What if the secret that century-old villagers in Japan and Italy have been quietly living by was something so simple, so ancient, so built into your DNA that you have been walking past it every single day without realizing it? You would probably say that sounds too good to be true, but this isn't a sales pitch, and it isn't a shortcut. This is biology. This is the story of what is actually happening inside your body, cell by cell, minute by minute, when you commit to the one movement your body was literally designed to do. And by the end of this, you will never look at a simple walk the same way again. Picture a machine unlike anything ever engineered in a laboratory. It was not built in a factory. It was forged over millions of years of evolution. This machine is designed with one singular, ruthless purpose: to move. It generates its own energy from food. It repairs its own internal wiring while you sleep. It upgrades its own operating system through experience and challenge. It can traverse continents, outlast prey through sheer endurance, and survive in environments that would destroy any man-made technology. This machine is the most sophisticated biological system ever to exist on this planet. But there is one critical condition buried in the fine print of its design. The warranty is void if the machine stops moving. It only repairs itself in motion. Stop it and the gears begin to seize, the fluids turn to sludge, the circuits start to fray. That machine is you, and that garage where it sits, rusting day after day, hour after hour, is your chair, your couch, your car seat. Here's the uncomfortable truth that nobody in our productivity-obsessed culture wants to say out loud. The average adult now spends between 12 and 14 hours a day seated. We sit to commute, we sit to work, we sit to eat, we sit to decompress in front of the television, and then we lie down for 8 hours and wonder why we feel tired, foggy, unmotivated, and physically broken. We've been sold the idea that exercise is a separate, optional activity you schedule 3 times a week if you were disciplined enough. But movement was never supposed to be optional. It was never supposed to be a scheduled task. It was supposed to be the baseline, the foundation, the default state of being human. We have engineered movement out of our lives so completely that we now have to engineer it back in, and most of us are failing to do that. Now here's where the dangerous misconception comes in. When most people think about fixing this problem, they think they need to do something intense. They picture themselves gasping on a treadmill or grinding through a workout they dread. They think that unless they're dripping sweat and fighting for air, it doesn't count. They look at walking and see something small, something entry-level, something you do when you're too old or too injured for the real stuff. That mindset is not just wrong, it is quietly biologically lethal, because the difference between sitting all day and walking for 30 to 45 minutes daily is not just a calorie difference. It is the difference between a body that is thriving at the cellular level and a body that is slowly, silently shutting itself down from the inside. Let's start with the first domino that falls the moment you stop moving, because this is the one that almost nobody talks about. The second you sit down, a timer starts. Within just 20 minutes, the electrical activity in your legs, the largest and most metabolically active muscle group in your entire body, goes almost completely silent. It's like pulling the plug on a lamp. And because those muscles are no longer contracting, the production of a crucial enzyme called lipoprotein lipase collapses by nearly 90%. You might never have heard of this enzyme, but it is the hinge on which your entire metabolic health swings. Think of it as your body's internal vacuum cleaner for fat in the bloodstream. When it stops working, your blood transforms from a free-flowing river into a thick, viscous sludge of unprocessed fuel and triglycerides, the kind that clings to artery walls and quietly builds the foundation for heart disease. You are essentially sending a chemical signal to your entire biochemistry that says the hunt is over, the day is done. Start storing everything as fat. And your body, loyal and obedient as it is, follows those instructions perfectly.
This is the sedentary cascade, and once it starts, it does not stay in your legs, it spreads. Your insulin sensitivity drops, your inflammatory markers rise, your blood pressure creeps up, your mood flattens, your energy crashes. And because it all happens so gradually, so quietly, we mistake these changes for aging. We chalk it up to just getting older. But the research tells a different story. Many of the symptoms we associate with aging are actually symptoms of chronic inactivity wearing a very convincing disguise. But here's the beautiful part. You have a factory reset button. It doesn't require a prescription, a payment plan, or a personal trainer. You just have to stand up and start walking. And the moment you do, a biological chain reaction begins that is so powerful, so far-reaching, so systemic that scientists are still working to fully map its scope. Let's walk through it together, minute by minute, so you understand exactly what your body is doing and why every single step matters more than you think. In the first 5 minutes, your body protests. Your muscles feel stiff. Your breathing feels slightly off. Your brain whispers that this is uncomfortable and that the couch was fine. This is not laziness. This is a survival mechanism that served your ancestors well. For almost all of human history, calories were scarce and starvation was a real and ever-present danger. Your ancient brain is still running that old software. It's wired to conserve energy whenever possible, to ask why burn fuel when you don't have to. But you override it. You keep moving, and between the 6th and 10th minute mark, something shifts. Your heart rate steadies into a confident, rhythmic drumbeat. Your circulation wakes up. Your body stops resisting and starts cooperating. This is when the first major transformation begins, what we can call the sugar flush. Imagine your bloodstream like a major highway system. After a meal or even after hours of sitting, that highway is jammed with traffic. The cars are glucose molecules, sugar. When you are sedentary, that traffic is completely gridlocked, and just like real gridlock, it causes damage to the road. High blood sugar scrapes and inflames the lining of your arteries. Your pancreas floods the system with insulin, the traffic cop, desperately trying to get your cells to absorb the sugar. But in our modern world, your cells have heard that screaming so many times they've gone partially deaf. This is called insulin resistance, and it is the on-ramp to type 2 diabetes. Walking bypasses this entire broken system through a completely different mechanism. When your muscles contract rhythmically with each step, they activate special receptors called GLUT4 transporters that open your cell doors without needing insulin. Your muscles begin pulling sugar directly out of the bloodstream as fuel. The traffic dissolves. Research from the American Diabetes Association has confirmed that a 15-minute walk after a meal can reduce blood sugar spikes more effectively than some of the leading medications prescribed for this exact problem. As you pass the 20-minute mark, the transformation moves from your blood sugar to your hormones, and this is where things get deeply personal. Most of us are living in a permanent state of low-grade emergency. The pinging phone, the overflowing inbox, the nightly news, the financial pressure, all of this keeps our bodies flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone. And when you're stressed but sitting perfectly still, your body is caught in a deeply confusing paradox. It feels the chemistry of fight or flight, but it senses that you are not moving. Your primitive brain interprets this as being frozen in front of a predator, and it responds the way evolution programmed it to, by keeping you locked in anxiety and suppressing testosterone, because why bother with vitality and drive when survival itself is in question? Cortisol and testosterone are biological opposites. When one rises, the other falls. Walking breaks this loop at its root. The act of moving forward tells your ancient brain that you are taking action, that you are not trapped, that the threat is being handled. Cortisol drops. The fog lifts. You shift from overwhelmed and groggy to alert and capable within minutes, not hours. But while your blood sugar is clearing and your hormones are settling, something extraordinary is happening in your brain, something that sounds like science fiction but is supported by hard neuroscience. For decades, scientists believed the adult brain was fixed. They thought you had a set number of neurons, and aging was simply a slow countdown as they died off one by one. That idea has been completely overturned. We now know the brain is plastic, meaning it can grow, change, and build new connections functions at any age, but it needs a trigger. And that trigger is sustained rhythmic movement. When you walk for 30 to 40 minutes, your brain begins producing a remarkable protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor. If your brain cells are a garden, BDNF is the most powerful fertilizer ever discovered. Without it, the connections between neurons wither and die. With it, the garden blooms with new growth, and this growth happens most powerfully in the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory, learning, emotional regulation, and the ability to think clearly under pressure. The hippocampus is also the first structure to shrink as we age. The memory lapses, the mental fog, the emotional fragility that we accept as inevitable parts of getting older, they are largely products of chronic inactivity wearing a very convincing disguise. But consistent walking physically increases the volume of this structure. You are not just slowing the decline, you are reversing